Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In just under 4 months' time, I'm going to be moving into a convent, ready to become a postulant. And as the time is, approaching closer and closer now, I've been thinking about what can I do to prepare myself and also maybe like help with a smoother transition as well from this life into convent life. So here are my top 10 things that I'm finding useful or trying to do over these coming few months.
I will hold your people in my heart.
Number one most obvious thing to anyone that sees me around is that I've started wearing skirts the last few weeks. And since I've done a whole video on how I've started wearing skirts and my reasons for that, I won't repeat myself. But I found that really useful, and lots of other people have said that they found that really useful. Number two is that I'm spending more time with my friends that live nearby and trying to make sure to meet up over the next few weeks or months with my friends that live a bit further away. And at the same time, I'm trying to reduce how much I use Facebook and reduce how much I text people so that I'm just used to days completely free of any texts. Number three, as things come to me, I'm creating a list of various things I've got to do, like who to notify for change of address, and I'll need to stop quite a few standing orders when it comes to the end of June because I'll no longer have any income. And on top of that, I'll need to do things like change the SIM or the way that I'm paying for my phone. I'll need to change to pay as you go somehow and find a way of doing it where they'll allow me to top up with cash in case I go on to no longer having a bank account in the future. But even with not having any income from June onwards, I'm better off going on to pay as you go even this summer. Number four is that I'm just trying to reduce my use of the internet in general to get used to the fact that I probably won't be able to go on the internet every day in a convent. I'm sure, well, I know they've got a computer and that I'll be able to go on the internet, like maybe on my day off or whatever. But in my current life, I'm using the internet quite every day to keep aware of what's going on in my community, to read about like issues that are in the news or just social issues. There are quite a few blogs that I find really useful, like Christian blogs that I follow that are really helpful to my spiritual life. And quite often I'll do a like my own little sort of study on a either like a Bible passage or like a spiritual topic, and I'll use the internet for that. So I'm just trying to get to the point where I can like my daily prayer life and spiritual life is quite happy and comfortable, and it just feels normal to not be so dependent on the internet each day and just have the internet less frequently. Number five is that I'm already going through my stuff trying to like take things I no longer need to charity shops or give them to other people who like could do with them more than I can. Um, so like just getting rid of some like shoes or clothes that I can't really see me needing in the future, or are quite easily replaceable if I end up not going on to become a novice. And the main thing, like the main task in my flat, is just all the paperwork that I've accumulated over the years. So every Saturday, I'm putting aside time just to gradually, like 1 or 2 hours every weekend, gradually go through my stuff and sort it so that when it gets nearer the time for me moving into the convent, there's not all this kind of stress of I've got to spend like a whole weekend or a whole week going through all my stuff. I'm hoping to just do it in bits over these coming months. So when it comes to more like the summer, I can just spend more time relaxing with friends and having fun and not having this like hanging over me. Number six is that I'm gradually going through I'm looking in the cupboards in my kitchen to see what I've already got. So rather than each week thinking, well, what meals would I like to make this coming week, and then getting the ingredients and seeing what I've already got. I'm doing like the opposite of seeing what food is in my cupboards and basing my upcoming meals on what I've already got, so that I'm buying as little food in as possible and just trying to making the most of what's already in my cupboard, so that I use it all up over the next few months. Number 7 is that I'm making sure to return anything that I've got in my flat that I've borrowed from anyone else, and just in general making sure that I've given back anything outstanding that I still owe.
Number 8 is that I've started using the prayer book that the community uses, which is taking me a while to adjust to, because if you've seen my video called Praying at Set Times of Day, I talk about the Common Worship Daily Prayer, which I said I've been using it for 10 years in that video. It's actually been 13. So when you've been using a form of praying almost daily for 13 years, and you're suddenly given a slightly different style or format or something, or just a different book, it's taken me a while to adjust, but I know I will. But so I'm just sort of in that transition at the moment, getting used to the new prayer book and where things are, and getting used to reading less like big Bible passages and a lot more Psalms in the day.
Number 9 is kind of new and kind of not, because I've been reading about religious life for like several years now, and I suppose because I wasn't sure I was being called to religious life myself, I was more reading it to get ideas of how to structure my day and kind of live like a nun but on my own. And I was reading about the vows of poverty and chastity, or celibacy and obedience, and wondering how can those vows apply to my life in a sort of non-religious working, living on my own setting. So now that I am more intentionally looking at religious life, I suppose I'm reading more about those vows from the religious life angle, and just reading more about. I'm starting to read more about what's it like living in a community, or living in a convent. So I'm reading more of sisters' own experiences, that kind of thing, which I wasn't necessarily reading so much before. And at the same time, I suppose, I don't know what word you want to use, like the devil or the enemy, but I suppose it makes sense that if someone's looking at entering religious life, that, or either just psychologically or something out there, might want to try and either stop them entering religious life, or try to entice them away from the spirit of poverty and chastity and obedience, or maybe try to suggest that they spend the next few months before entering the convent not living in poverty and chastity and obedience, for example. So I'm just praying for God's help and protection over these next few months, that I'm not kind of led astray in any kind of way.
And number 10 is that I'm making the most of conversations with people who have been postulants themselves, which for a start would be anyone who's a religious sister. So when I go to the convent nearby once a month, I'm making the most of asking questions about those sisters, stories and how they found being a postulant and a novice. But also I know some people in Leicester, even a couple of priests who were they were postulants, and that was part of their discernment journey, and it was after being a postulant that they realized that actually God was calling them in a different direction. So it's been really interesting to hear their stories too, and how they found being a postulant, and how for them being a postulant didn't necessarily lead to staying in religious life, but it was a stepping stone. So just making the most of all these conversations with people that have done it ahead of me or done it before, and learning from their experiences.